Table Talk with Brenda Perryman is brought to you by Livingston Family Dentistry.
Livingston Family Dentistry knows that good dental care ensures overall wellness, and healthy teeth and gums can perfect your smile. With over 30 years of experience, Dr. Ronald and Dr. Blake Livingston take the time to explain every treatment. Their modern office and friendly staff are committed to making you feel comfortable, informed, and satisfied. Located at 13724 Woodward in Highland Park, call now 313-883-3050. If your teeth are not becoming to you,
then you should be coming to us.
I am hot, I am hot, I am hot. Oh. Okay, this is Brenda Perryman, and welcome to Table Talk with Brenda Perryman right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 91, in Detroit and all over the world, courtesy of the World Wide Web. And I'd like my co-hosts to introduce themselves.
Daryl Buchanan.
Cheryl Ajamu.
And Jerome Buffington.
Yes, and Cheryl, she was on the show preceding this, but once to my Table Talk audience, why don't you tell them quickly what you have next month?
Okay, coming up January 18th, 11 a.m. at the MGM Grand. It's the Multicultural Media Luncheon. It's an Academy Award style program honoring ethnic groups for their achievements in the auto industry, and the keynote speaker will be A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, and his topic will be maintaining your brand's authenticity. Tickets are $85, and you can go to Eventbrite Multicultural Media Luncheon, or you can call 248-223-0904.
And you get food. I mean,
yes,
it's not
lunch.
just $85.
Right, you get luncheon, and you get food, and you get to hear from a billionaire to learn some business strategies.
And it's an amazing networking opportunity
yes.
also.
Yes.
God, I could talk about that show myself. I could just do it myself. And then the VIP, you get to take a photo with Alex Rodriguez, like right next to him with his arm around you.
That's for $150.
For $150,
yes.
A VIP event after the show. And after the luncheon, and they have food there too.
Yeah, we have some mini pastry desserts. We try to make it a very engaging and fun experience as well, because at the end of the day we want to add value for our customers as well as our sponsors. So
yeah, and invaluable relationships have come out of that.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Cheryl. How
you.
can they get tickets again?
Eventbrite Multicultural Media Luncheon. You can Google that or go to Eventbrite and it'll say Multicultural Media Luncheon featuring Alex Rodriguez. Or you can go to the ajamugroup.com, AJAMUGROUP.com, or you can call 248-223-0904.
Wow. That's a
mouthful.
lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Well, let's get on into our topics because this has been a crazy week or 2 weeks. And the Michigan Democratic, some Michigan Democrats and some national Democrats are calling for Congressman John Conyers to resign. Let's talk about this.
You know, I'm torn about this whole incident, and I'm torn because with all of the incidents that have taken place recently with sexual harassment, sexual assault being front and center with a lot of things going on, to hear an icon of the civil rights movement, somebody that's been in office since I was 9 years old, to be now accused of something like that, and now it's going to taint everything that he's been able to accomplish in a lifetime of service. And to me, that's a shame. I mean, it's not about excusing anything that happened, but just for it to this to be the epitaph of such a wonderful life of service is, to me, it's a disaster.
I think that this whole situation around sexual harassment has created such a dialogue, and I think that it's healing a lot of people. There's a lot of hurting people out here, and I think that these incidents it is saddened to hear about John Conyers. I think about all the work he did to help make Stevie Wonder, work with Martin Luther King to get that national holiday, just the respect that all communities have for him. To kind of hear that is kind of disheartening, but at the same time I think it's healing for the people who have suffered these injustices. So it's, it's kind of a somber week for everybody.
Yeah, it seems like every other day it's a new celebrity or someone else with some power or money being accused of sexual harassment in some way, fashion, or form. And it's very disheartening. One, is disheartening to know that people that you look up to and admire are capable of these things. Secondly, it does bring conversation, like you said. I've been having conversations all week about it. The one thing that does bother me is, although you have all of these people being fired, being let go, being told to step down from their positions, we still have the president in office who's been accused.
Absolutely.
And no one is calling for anything on him.
Well,
and he was still elected knowing.
I'm calling for a lot of things that I can't make public, but on Trump. But we have a call in a moment. But my thing is accusations. I think that they should go on and let him serve out his time if nothing is proven as of yet. But the young lady who came out about, she was on Today's Show yesterday.
Yes.
And she was the one who got the money, wasn't she?
She
the
was.
27,000. That's kind of proof. We have a call.
I had a problem with that one as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, good morning again. You know what? And your buddy kind of stole some of my thunder. That was my exact point. Number 45, he will never be president to me. That's why I call him 45. He has, 14 women standing in line with the flying fickle finger of fate pointed at him, saying that he's had done something sexually misconducted. And, I mean, nobody's calling for his head. I mean, we saw and we heard what Donald Trump said about how you treat women, all right? And so as you say and you think, so as you are. So until Donald Trump steps down, John Conyers and anybody else, stand your ground. And, one more thing. In terms of Congressman Conyers' legacy, that legacy will always be there. It'll just have a little smudge on it. But in terms of what he's done for this country and for us as a black people, it will not be stained whatsoever.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
And you have to remember, too, I mean, we talk about, with the Martin Luther King holiday and those kind of things, but you got to remember he was part and parcel of the Nixon. I mean, having Nixon step down.
Yes.
Because he was on the Judiciary Committee then,
Right.
and they were going to impeach him at that time.
Right.
So he was part of that as well.
Absolutely.
And-
Well, go on.
And I think you also have to look at, he's a senior most representative. He has the most seniority, and in Congress it goes by seniority.
Absolutely.
So I then asked why why this is coming out now, especially with that young lady who received money, signed a disclosure statement,
Right.
and then all of a sudden says, "Well, I'm going to come out and violate this disclosure agreement so that I can get more money by going on the networks." I had a problem with that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That says a whole lot about her.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like you broke a marriage vow. You pledged your fidelity to that disclosure, and now you go out here and you violate that. Some of these folks, I don't What did they say? What were they thinking? No,
But-
they weren't thinking.
okay.
That's the bottom line.
Okay. I got calls. I got long distance.
Okay, go ahead, Brenda.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
no, I wasn't talking about you
Okay.
today, but I'm saying I got calls, long distance calls about this from people because it is national news. It's on every single national news, be it network or cable.
Right.
It's on there. And the thing about it is, I mean, sometimes, and I said this during the election last year, and 2 years before that, sometimes you could stay too long at the
Yes.
fair.
Yes.
And I just thought that, and I did not see Congressman Conyers grooming anybody. I don't know. Maybe people thought that he's going to live to 150. I don't know. But he wasn't grooming anybody. You know, you have to groom somebody.
Well, you can
And
hope
and
so
that's a real
anyway.
sign of
Yeah,
leadership, you know, to know that there is some kind of succession, you know, to what you've been able to accomplish. If you look in the city of Detroit, we can say the same thing about Coleman Young. I love Coleman Young. You'll never hear me say a bad thing about him. But who did he have, you know, waiting to take his place when he left office? And so what happens is you create a vacuum in terms of, you know, the leadership ability of the person that sits there, you know. And I'm looking at how he's being forced out and who's forcing him out.
Yeah.
And I also look at some of the members of Congress. And, you know, James Clyburn, you two have been, you know, together for 40 years or more, okay? And for you to turn on him the way he's done, I mean, what would
Wait,
stop?
let me tell you something about James Clyburn. My family, I was born in South Carolina, and my family my brother is there now. And we had a long talk 3 months ago, maybe within the last few months. He said, James Clyburn is so much talk and hasn't done, there were things he should have helped with down there and hasn't done them. So I lost, after this conversation, it was a long conversation, I lost a lot of respect for him. But I lost respect for him yesterday, too.
I did too.
You
I did
know
too,
what?
because
Let me
what would
tell you what I
stop
gotta
him?
go.
Go ahead.
Yes,
I say let the process take its place before, you know, people want to sit there and be judge, jury, and executioner. There's a process that's got to, you know, take place.
A
So, you
lengthy
know, folks,
process.
just pop you some popcorn, sit back in your chair, and watch it play out.
yes, and like Daron just said, a lengthy process.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess they feel the yesterday's interview with Miss Brown, that was the sealer, but I just don't think that should be it. You know, everybody, my son called me, he said, Mom, there's a lot of nervous people. He called me as a result of a call I had called him. I called him to say, because he has a managerial, you know, and I called him to say, Ryan, now, you're not fooling around, you're not this. I did. I called him to say.
Ryan, don't mess up my
no,
name.
Yeah.
No, because we've been out, and I have seen, a lady walked up to me once and said, you mind if I talk to him? And this was my son.
What was your answer?
I said, yes, I do. We were on no, serious.
Yeah.
I mean, he's he's a decent looking guy, and they come up, and then sometimes I have had students, and believe me, I believe most of these women, but I had a former student whose career was ruined because of a false claim.
Well, you know what?
Yes.
He said, she said, if somebody says that, especially in a situation like this, where and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to, for lack of a better way, to castigate them, but if a woman says, I did something to her, though I didn't do it, I've got to prove that I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So you're between a rock and a hard place. Well, look, fame's got its price, and I got to go out here in this world for people to get a piece of me. So I shall bid you all a fond adieu, and if I don't see any of you all before the Christmas, Merry Christmas and a happy holiday.
And you
Same
too,
to you.
and we
Thank
do
you.
have that app on the iPhone, WHPR Now. Now, yes.
I don't have a real smartphone. I got phones maybe getting
You
ready
still
to be
using
actually
the
nice.
Star Trek flip phone?
Flip,
Oh my God!
beam me up, Scotty.
That was a big deal when I was a kid and Star Trek came on,
Yep.
and it was like that flip phone. We said, "Dang, what is that?" You know? But anyway, thank you, Tom. Thank
All right,
you.
then.
But here's the other thing. Yeah, I talked to my son about it, but I was taking my grandson, who's 11, to school. I said, "Duder, if a girl tells you no, what does that mean?" It means no, Grandma. I said, yes, it means no. We got to talk to these young men.
Oh yeah,
We
oh
got
yeah.
to talk to them.
I remember I was taking Colin when he was going to early impressions. I was dropping him off, and I'm standing there. I'm taking his coat off, going to hang his coat up, and this little girl came up, and this little breathless voice goes, "Hi, Colin." I was like, "Hey, you need to go somewhere, little
Yeah,
girl."
but it starts early now, so you better watch out, Jerome. You got this little bitty
Man.
girl.
Oh, she's tough. I pray for whoever comes to her.
But back to Congressman Conyers, I just think that there is a process, as you said. All of a sudden, it seems, people are, "I'll bring him down, bring it down." And there are a bunch of people standing waiting to apply for his job.
Thank you.
Someone said, yeah, his son, Ian Conyers. Ian Conyers is not his son. That's his nephew.
Yeah.
That's his great nephew or something.
The problem I have, you're not allowed due process when it comes to these accusations. I believe that some of these people have done some terrible things.
Ooh.
But then you have accusations that come and you're basically guilty until proven innocent. It's not innocent until proven guilty in the public side. And that's very unfortunate because we run and we're quick to judge and we don't know all of the facts. Just like I said about the young lady that was on the Today Show. I had a problem with her. I didn't have a problem with some of the Matt Lauer cases because it was laid out there.
He
and
had
even
that
admitted
button to lock the door.
it was laid out there. But
I know.
with the Conyers case, I did. I listened to a couple of things that the lady said, and something was a little shaky. And I do have a problem when you're coming out for money. I do have a problem because then you have something to gain as opposed to telling your story, getting your closure, healing, and things of that sort. But when you come out and it's for money, it's something totally different to me.
One of the things that I look at is that in most of those instances, I always look at who's there. I mean, who's that lawyer sitting next to him? And I mean, the lawyers that they have, Gloria Allred or Lisa
her
Bloom,
daughter, yeah.
or one of, man, that ain't coming cheap, and they ain't doing it,
No,
out of the goodness of their heart. These are not, pro bono cases that they're doing, not at all.
And not only that, I mean, a lot of people. I had a career. I worked 39 years, and I've also dealt with people on the outside because on the outside I did show business stuff. A lot of us have been chased around tables and stuff back in the day, and you think about it. Sometimes you tell, but sometimes you say, you have the nerve to say, if you do this, you threaten to tell. But so many women have been, it's such a horrible position to be in.
It is.
When, especially your superior, or I'm not saying my superior, but other people who engage in that. And I remember, I told my son about it. I told him, I said, you remember when you were young and I was teaching and I used to I had gabardine slacks. I wore nice clothes.
Stop.
I had some gabardine slacks, and I would those were the days I could tuck my blouse in. And I'd hear things like, and the slacks weren't even tight, but I'd hear things like, "Oh, those long legs," and this and that. I mean, the things that were said were awful. And I was a married woman at the time, but I've kind of let it go, and it's not a 20-year later I'm going to come and start talking about somebody. And my thing is this: all of a sudden, and people are telling them, but the people at NBC said they had been to management before on Matt Lauer.
But you heard their
Not the
comeback.
current
Not the
management.
current
Not
management.
the
So,
current.
well, we didn't know. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean, reading
deflection.
his story, I was pretty appalled. I mean, just the gall of him and like Harvey Weinstein to come and you invite somebody to your room, whether it's your whether someone you're working with or whatever, and they come into the room and you're butt naked. I mean, that takes some gall. I've never had that much confidence.
No.
to just hey.
I know.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna roll the dice and see how this goes. I just you have to have some kind of ego to think that
And Matt Lauer is so skinny. I saw them little stick legs, like the stick man you draw. I said, my goodness, he had a lot of nerve. But what about Al Franken? He did some things before he got into service, and now everybody's coming out the woodwork talking about him.
And another thing that I noticed, there was a lot of heat on that gentleman that's running for that seat in Alabama.
Oh,
now
God.
you're not hearing anything
Right.
about it because
Of
you know
this.
what?
Deflection.
I'm not the only freak. There's some
More
more freaks out
deflection.
here, and we're gonna point them out, and we're gonna put them out
But,
there.
one of the stories is Russell Simmons.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. We have Tyrone on the phone. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes?
Yes. When I look at what's going on, it tells me that we need a free press. We need a public press. Private press has dumbed us down, have kept information from us. Every station I see, all during the campaign was the Russian. Now it's sex, and on every station, because only 6 institutions control the whole print and electronic media in this country. Now, when I look and see them after those old men look like in the graveyard, talking about they put their hands up somebody's dress or they came out in
They will
underwear.
do it, I tell you.
You know, when they hear them come out in underwear, 90-year-old men, that's a pitiful sight. So I'm just saying, it's a diversion, and the diversion is because the United States is losing in the World Trade Organization because it can't prove China's not a market competition, and China's kicking the capitalist system worldwide. Socialism is kicking them worldwide. As number 2 in 40 years, have wiped all the others out, and this country don't know what to do, and it's losing. The dollar is imploding. Bitcoin is coming, and they talking about a 90-year-old man putting his hand on some lady's knee.
Right.
You know, that's pitiful, and the world is laughing at it. I suggest to look at the Chinese station and the Russian station so you all can, and everybody can have a broader view and see how nasty this is.
We'll have a broader view, but we may not have the truth. Thank you,
Yes,
Ty.
now here's another thing, Brenda. John Conyers, if you can't name nothing he done for the mass of people, he just been up there getting a paycheck. He ain't did nothing. A birthday for Martin Luther King don't help the masses. Breakfast table, those programs they cut off from the masses from Washington, D.C. He has nothing to do with it. And I went to John Conyers when I caught the clerk manipulating absentee votes and I said she violated the National Registration Act and gave him the documents, and he's on the Judiciary Committee. He did nothing and let the clerk put in people like Duggan. The clerk has took our voters' rights in this city, and he did nothing. I brought it to him.
Thank you.
At this station right there.
Thank you.
I ain't talking about John Conyers. John Conyers just did nothing.
Thank you, Tyrone.
Okay, now.
Yes.
The one thing I do like about this is that it has raised a dialogue. I mean, just me amongst my friends, we've been talking now, like what is flirting, what is sexual harassment, when does
It's a whole cultural shift, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I it's been funny because I've been talking to some of my friends, and they're like, especially in leadership positions, and they're like, I try not to even say hi to women now.
Right.
I can't say you look nice today. Your hair is nice because
I think we were talking about that yesterday. I mean, go on and have your office parties and everything. People know how to act. I mean, if you drink too much, you start getting out of hand and so forth. People will just be a little more cautious about what they do. Don't
and
you
what they
think?
what they say.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
But in reality, where do you draw that line? As you know, as a man, you know, I like to compliment women. If I see someone and I say, "Hey, that's a very nice dress you have on," she might take it as me flirting or me coming on to her or sexual harassment. When all I was saying was, "Hey, you look nice and the dress is nice."
Okay, so this is going to mess things up. I mean, there's a distinction between flirting and sexual harassment. You can flirt and a woman could accept it or turn it off, and you know right away, like, okay, that went nowhere and I'm done with that, okay? Whereas when you continuously pursue when when you've gotten all the signals that this ain't working, okay, you need to learn how to step back. Okay.
Right.
And that's
right. That's why I say no means no, or the discount.
It's
you walk
simple.
away, because I told my grandson, I said, women are like buses. You miss one, there's bound to be another. Anyway, Russell Simmons, he stepped down from his companies due to the fact, and he kind of almost halfway admitted that this happened, and the girl was 17.
Yeah.
What do you all think, Cheryl? You got some thoughts?
Well, it's pretty shocking. I mean,
Show business.
yeah,
Shocking?
it's just yeah. I mean, I know those things happen, and just because I come from that world, you know, I've seen a lot
Right.
of things, but there are just some people that you hold at a different level because you have a respect for them, and then when you hear something like that, it's kind of disappointing. But at the same time, it's not surprising. I know that, like I said, I know that type of thing goes on, but
But in this particular case, and then I saw the woman on television, because his good friend was there, and the
He's
lady.
been accused. He's been accused.
He's
of
been
sexually harassing
accused.
Terry Crews, a man.
Oh yeah, he was the one. But then they've laid him off. I mean, his company has laid him off.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was there when all of it started. This Russell Simmons piece, and she says she asked for help and he wouldn't help.
That should have been a sign right there to stop. I mean, if it gets to a point where somebody, I mean, you can look at somebody
Everybody
and
doesn't
you know,
think with their brain.
I understand, but you can look and see that, you know, this person is not enjoying this. I mean, so basically you're engaging in a
Rape.
Yeah, in a rape, because this is a one person act. You know, when you think about a sexual relationship, you know, you want to have both parties engaged in this, okay? I mean, just to have one person just
It's
mindlessly.
better that way.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I was thinking out loud. I'm sorry.
What? But that was my point. I
Yeah.
mean, that's exactly the point that I'm making. So, you know, to engage in an act that, you know, somebody, you know, that both parties aren't engaged in, how satisfying is that?
But rape is not about satisfaction.
Well, that's about
it's
power. That's
Yeah,
about
that's
power,
what I
and
was
that's
just
I
gonna
mean,
say.
and that's another thing.
I think,
Okay,
yeah.
and that's where the criminality. But we're talking about when people don't know where the line is. Okay, and I'm not talking about somebody that's a rapist. I'm talking about just a regular guy that could just be over pursuing.
But then
Okay,
again, like I said, those egos.
It's the power
When
again.
It's
you
power.
think you should want me, or
Yeah.
Well, they
even
can't
if they're
take that
saying, no, I
rejection.
don't,
Yeah.
and you're saying yes, you do. You just
Yeah.
don't know it, or what have you. I've been around some celebrities, and just the egos. It astounded me. I remember I won't say who the actor was, but I was in Miami and I'm in a club, and he walked over and I'm standing there, and two girls next to me, and he just put his arms around them and he just started feeling on them, feeling on their breast,
Yeah.
as he's talking to them. I'm amazed. Like, I know I couldn't do that, but because he was a celebrity, he thought he could, and evidently he could, because the women did not say anything. They just laughed and giggled with him, and I think that's part of the problem as well. Sometimes you have some women who allow certain things to happen, which makes them think, oh, this is okay, this is what I should
Unfortunately, yeah.
do, or this is what I can do. And when they encounter one that does not, you know, then it's, oh, yes, you do, you know.
Well, Snoop Dogg came to the studio when we were over on Woodward. He came to give a concert. And I'll never forget that night, because I was talking to him in green room. Well, we had this area. It looked like green. It was green. Anyway, I was talking to him, and he knew I was a teacher and stuff. And so I hadn't gone back into the concert hall yet, and it was almost time for him to go back. And so he was over by the door. He said, "We'll finish the conversation when I come off stage." I said to myself, he was a bit high, but I said to myself, I said, "Self, he won't," And I went inside for a while, and the girls, it was like women there waiting, wanting. You saw everything but the areola on their breasts. They had their breasts hanging out, had everything, just ready. How do you come to something like that? Do you actually believe that this person is going to pursue you because of that? But the funny thing was, and I went on back into the other part of the studio, and the funny thing was, they said when Snoop came off stage, they were running around looking for me because Snoop wants the teacher. He wants to talk to the teacher. And I was just so pleased that he did not engage with those girls and everything. We finished our conversation and everything. Just very nice person. But people were out there, and sometimes people, and I'm a woman and I know how it is out there, but some people, when they're rejected, sometimes they say, they tell a different story.
When I say there's always three sides to a story, is his side, her side, and the truth. So, there's a lot of ways that, these incidents come about, but it's always about just control. And the way you described how, Snoop responded, that should be a blueprint for everybody that's in the public eye on how to conduct yourself in the public.
Well, another person was, OJ was horrible. Let's just talk quickly about that. The amount of women that he pursued, and because he was who he was, they went in for it.
But and it's not just OJ. When you look at, Tiger Woods and what happened with him, when you look at what is Darren Sharper, the football player that was putting the roofies in the girls' drinks and things of that sort and having sex with them, which I couldn't understand for the life of me. I thought he was a decent-looking guy. He had money. He was an athlete. Why do you have to,
It's power. It's just
and it's
power.
a rush for them.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's a rush for them. For some people, it's a rush.
And that just, that's the criminality of it. It's not
Right.
that's not a normal mind saying that, I want to go out and I want to meet somebody and, no, that's a power trip. That's control, and
Right.
it's almost like he's hunting.
But
that's the definition of a predator.
Yeah, and when we talk about that entitlement of some people, athletes, entertainers, things of that sort, you look at where it starts. Even as an athlete in high school, you play sports. Girls like you because of what you have and what you're doing and things of that sort. Singers, same thing. I've seen when I was in Atlanta, working with different artists. You see that one day, nobody knows who they are. The next day, is girls chasing them down the street. It creates those type of things, but
It's ridiculous, but what do you think? It's like every day you hear about a different person or something. Where does it stop, or?
I don't think it will, because I think this has been going on for a long time. You hear
It
about the
has,
casting couches
and everybody's getting their last tag. But the culture, it should be a big cultural shift right now. And a lot of people work in a world of men, and for men need to take the women seriously for their brains and so forth and so on. And it's very difficult having a relationship in a workplace.
I think there's a lot of men right now that are probably sitting on pins and needles in their workplace, knowing the things that they've done and wondering who's going to come out and say something about them.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I truly believe it. Because even I know I haven't done anything, but I'm wondering who mistook something the wrong way.
That's a good point.
So I know that the ones that are guilty are probably sitting there shaking in their boots, because in reality, this if I was going to come out with something, or I know I've been abused, this is the perfect time to come out because it's a bet you're going to get some results.
Yeah.
Well, you saw that graphic where they had all the people who had been accused and been shunned away and everything, and then go to the fact of what you said, Donald Trump is still in office.
Donald Trump is still in office. I mean, even if you go back to Anita Hill and
Oh,
how
yeah.
how they treated her and
I-
didn't believe her and
that-
things of that sort.
That was my first time really looking at Joe Biden. And, I have that article down there because Joe Biden, they treated her so badly. They treated her so badly. And I told you when I met her, I finally met her about 4 years ago, and I said, I know he was guilty. Because he looked like my ex-husband. No, but they did. My ex-husband was
your barometer of guilt. Oh, you look like him. Yep,
No,
you guilty. You
but-
did it.
You did it.
Lock him up.
Well, he did look a lot like him, seriously, because my ex-husband had been stopped in airports because they thought he was Clarence Thomas. So that was, yeah, but I talked to her. She went through a lot. Can you imagine the mental anguish? We have Theo on the line.
Hey, Theo.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Happy Friday to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning,
morning.
Theo.
Hi, how you been? I wanted to talk about this issue as well, and I don't know. I guess Joe Biden has matured, huh? But as it relates to the flirting and sexual harassment, years ago I worked in an office, and the manager was white, and this young lady was a white Italian, and she consistently wore low-cut sweaters and blouses, and her breasts were quite large. The manager would come out in the area where we were working, and he had paper clips in his pocket, and he would use her low-cut sweater or blouse as a basketball hoop. And as you were saying earlier, she just giggled because, she thought that was so cute. And we were looking at her like, what is wrong with you? So I just want to say that there's a small number of women who make it bad for the larger number of women
Good
who
point.
have pride and respect in themselves and do not welcome that kind of activity. And if she was trying to sleep her way to promotions, it seems to me that she could have done it, behind his closed doors, and they should not have been doing that in our faces.
Well, the culture, Theo, the culture in the workplace is changing. I think
Very
it's going
much
to
so,
be
and for
very
the
much.
better.
There used to be a different culture. It
Yeah.
used to be. I mean, you could sit around and people talk off-color jokes and stuff around you, right, Cheryl?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because I'm from the South. It was really bad down there.
Oh, wow. That was really, wow.
And we're seeing
mentioning down south, we should call any friends or relatives that we may have there to let them know about the election and not to vote for
Oh,
more.
in Alabama. I'm going to let my
Yeah, a
cousins.
lady from down south told me that the white husbands and boyfriends would go into the voting booth with their female, significant other, and to make sure that they voted for, be it Donald Trump or whomever.
Right, right. Well,
And
thank
they
you
do
so
have-
much for this morning, Theo.
All right.
Okay.
I wanted to say that
okay.
growing up, I don't know if I told you this. Theo lived down the street from me, and her husband was my first coach.
We're your coach, yeah,
And-
you told
And
me.
so, but Theo was so fine when I was little. I used to
Theo.
I heard that.
Oh, that is so
People
wonderful.
talked about me, said I was reaching down in the cradle.
Wow. Well, we're going to move on to our next topic, which I think is very.
I had one more thing. I'm also wondering when we're gonna see our first reversal in regards to a woman that was sexually harassing a man.
Right, because that
It's
does
coming.
happen.
It's coming.
It does happen. It does
Yeah.
happen. I never did it. Now maybe if A-Rod worked with me, but anyway.
I can remember when I first started teaching, and I was fairly young, and two teachers pulled me to the side and they said, "You don't get your honey where you make your money." And
Right.
that has always stuck with me. He said, you
Don't get your honey where you
Yeah.
make your money.
That's it.
Right. Well, we have to go to the next one because we're running out of time. We have spent a long time on that. And I just want to talk about this briefly because I think people should know about it, how the state is imposing work requirements on some food assistance recipients in 10 counties. So you could be low income, they're expecting you to have a job. Thoughts?
And that's the fallacy of, just this whole conservative, ideology when it comes to the social network that has to be in place. And the gentleman before made a comment about, Tyrone made a comment about how socialism is kicking, capitalism's rear end all over the world. And that's because socialism has adopted more capitalistic principles. Think about it. In China and in Russia, the two major communist countries in the world, okay, they've always had this network where they took care, everybody was supposed to be equal, right? Well, now they've got these capitalistic principles in there, and you're seeing, millionaire and billionaire Russians and Chinese people now that you didn't see in the past. But their social network is still in place. So their people are they still have education, they still have health care, they're still taking care of their people. Here, we're still stuck on old ideology about, capitalism and, the strong will survive and that kind of thing. Until we start adopting more socialistic properties, we're not going to be able to compete with them because their people are coming over here in much better shape than our people are because they're healthy and they're educated. Healthy, educated people are going to be more productive, period.
Yet they want to cut budgets for public education.
Mm-hmm.
Yet,
And Obamacare is a curse word, know?
Right. But, it's going to hurt more of Trump's people that.
Well, depending on what counties it.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not doing it statewide, which raised some eyebrows with me.
Right.
And secondly, if you're going to implement that, I don't have a problem. The problem I have is you also have to implement job placement. You also have to implement job training.
Right.
You can't just say get up and get a job with
Where's
folks
the
who
job?
haven't been working. You have to give them some tools so that they can go out and become successful. One of the things now that's really big where you have a lot of job opportunity is skilled trades. So if you provide some skilled trade training to them for welding, for electrical, for HVAC, things of that sort, construction, with all of the new construction that's going to be going on, then you're actually giving them an opportunity because you're providing them the skills that they need to survive and to flourish. Now from that point on, it's up to them to go out and use those gifts that you gave them or talents that you bestowed
help
upon
them, right.
I mean,
and
you're not retooling the workforce.
Yeah.
So you're blaming people for not having the skills for the job. They've got the skills for the jobs that used to exist, but all of those jobs are gone. Either by just automation or just it advanced to the point that those jobs are obsolete. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that these people are lazy when they have 20th century skills in a 21st century economy. So until you upgrade the skill set, I mean it's like you open the hood of a car now. I used to be able to go in and change the spark plugs, the rotor, the cap, do
points.
everything. I can do everything.
Points and plugs.
I lift the hood on my car now. I don't even know what I'm looking at, man.
I couldn't find the battery.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So how are you going to have people? I mean, you're going to ask people to go out here, get a job. Doing what?
But then some of the jobs too don't pay enough to support your family.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to get some food assistance.
And you look at that what you were saying. Education is the key. If you like to start at say J instead of starting at A. If you start at A, you start with the child and you build the child up and make sure that the child is learning. Make sure that you're teaching the child the principles that they're going to need to survive in this world. But if you started at J, now you skip the foundation.
Absolutely.
And you're asking this person to do all of the things that they should have been taught along the way that they missed. And that's, that's not realistic.
Cheryl, you work with a lot you do work with them. A lot of people in the auto industry and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. what do you find this? Aren't they skilled? You know.
Well, it's kind of in the marketing and advertising space where in schools and things like that, they're just starting to teach that career. I kind of fell into being a sales rep selling ad space for BET. There was no course for that, and I never saw anyone who looked like me who did that. So there's a lot of different careers that are out here, but you got to know about them. You got to be able to find out where to learn about them.
There are new careers. Every time you look, there's a new career, or somebody invents something that is a new career. We have to keep kids in school. I know of people. This one man told me a couple of months ago, last month, he said, my daughter won't go to school. I said, how old is she? 16. I said, she's in your house. He said, but she still won't go to school. She just sits around and watches television. She won't get a job.
Now, do you think that the reality shows are kind of playing into that?
Could
what
be.
do you guys
Reality,
think about that?
music,
Yeah.
entertainment in regards to what you see on TV.
But you can
Yes.
break that. You can break that. And the problem is that again we're approaching 21st century problems with 19th century solutions. So the schools were set up around an agrarian calendar where you're out of school for 3 months so you can go work the fields and help your family and those
Right,
kind of things.
right.
That doesn't happen anymore. And you know this. We implemented differentiated instruction in Southfield. So basically the premise was we're going to meet each student where they are in order for them to get to where they need to be. Whether it be in the arts, music, or sports,
They don't
the
have that
sciences,
anymore.
or whatever.
Technology.
I mean, but that's what we did, and that's how we started to make change out there, simply because we started to understand that everybody has a different motivation, everybody has a different learning style. Sitting in a classroom, lined up, the teacher standing in front, and we talk, and then the bell rings, and everybody, that's old. That's old.
I know.
That's an old dynamic. You got to change that.
I tell you, being a teacher, you get 30 kids in your class. Sometimes you end up being an entertainer. Maybe that's where no, I'm serious. I'm serious. You
But the
have
kids
to make
loved
it.
you, though.
Yes.
I mean, the kids loved you.
But you have to make it interesting for them.
Exactly.
And take them. They didn't even realize how much they were learning till the end results. And I mean, seriously, you as a teacher, no 2 days are alike. No two children learn the same way. And see, that was the old school where teachers used to act like everybody learned like they did. And that's not so. We have kids coming from different backgrounds. I remember in the 80s, them saying we're getting some junkie babies now. That's what.
Crack babies. Yeah.
Well, it was junkie because the crack was just coming out and stuff like that. But these were junkies because the early 70s were really high on heroin and stuff like that. But you had to know that some of their attention span was different. There were different things about them, So.
And people aren't understanding that they're expecting the schools to change in 6 hours a day. What happens the other 18 hours a day to these kids? Okay, most of the time, school is a respite for them from the rest of the horrors that they face on a daily basis, and then you don't see them on the weekend. So everything can change in a matter of a weekend. So
In a matter of a day, you have a student sitting in this seat, and then the next day they're not there because they were gunned down. I mean, I've had that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or a girl was raped and murdered. I've had that. And so as a teacher, you have to be more than a teacher. You have to be the consoler. You have to be trying to make them make sense out of what is happening. And it's so unfortunate. We have Linda on the line. Good morning. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
good morning.
Why is it still so complicated now to do on-the-job training? Some of these jobs are not so hard that people, if you can read, write, or whatever, you can't learn them. I know back in the 70s, we used to do everything manually, and they put us on the computer. We all were scared to death. We didn't know A, Z on how to work a computer. And they had those people that were good in technology that set it up and trained us. And that had us entering orders so crazy that we wasn't meeting production. But when I sat down and looked at that computer, because this is what I did every day manually, I figured it out, had no training. And where they were following the people that trained us, they were entering 20 orders a day. I was entering 85, and they couldn't figure out how I did it. But I learned a simple way of doing it. So I don't think it's so complicated
No, it's
for
not.
some of these high technology jobs that these young folks can't do it because they know how to do it anyway.
Well-
and you all have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Linda. It's not too that if you could get a job that trains you on the job, that's a great thing too. But there are other things too that go into play with having a job, being on time, being there,
Wearing the right clothing, whatever uniform
right?
is
Whatever
required.
the office protocol
Yeah.
is, or wherever
Being
there
able to
are other
articulate.
things.
Yeah.
Knowing how to speak.
Yeah, I mean,
And you have a lot of the city of Detroit who are not proficient in a lot of areas in regards to English, math, science, and things of those sort. So you're at a disadvantage to a certain extent. They were saying that I think it was 30-40% of Detroiters were illiterate to a certain extent.
It's 52. I think.
52, yeah, that's
I
a
think
high
it's
number.
52. That's very high. But, it can be taught, and there are places out there who are teaching it for nothing. I want to go to this last topic I was thinking about. We got to talk about Soul is coming to England, to the to the royal family.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have, well, she calls herself mixed race. I call her black. What do you all think about this?
I'm so excited about it because, I'm just going to say, we know Prince Henry had a little,
Harry.
Harry had a little extra, he was hanging out. He
Yes.
seems like really cool,
And I watched him dance one. So he knows how to keep a beat.
Yeah. I'm just excited because it's going to bring a new dynamic to,
I think so.
the royal family. I think she's a great person. I remember watching her on Suits.
Yes,
Well,
that's my show.
and wondering if she was African American. And then as the season went on, I said, yeah, she is. You could kind of tell. And then they wrote it into the show.
Yeah,
So
but,
I'm just excited.
Well,
I can't wait to see the
My
movie.
granddaughter, she says she is black. She's mixed. My grandkids are mixed, and she says she knows she's black because she looks at her dad and her auntie and all this stuff. But then one day, and I think I told you this. She was in first or second grade. She came home and she just laid on the bed and cried. And she cried because she watched. It was Martin Luther King, near Martin Luther King Day, and she watched they showed them that film of down in Alabama where they were squirting them with the hoses and stuff. And she was crying. She said, "I'm so scared for me and Daddy."
wow.
Yeah, but she knows what she is, and she's never denied it. I'm talking about Meghan Markle, and her mother has locks,
Yes,
dreadlocks.
she's
I
Afrocentric.
know.
Right.
That's why I said this is going to be great.
She's black. She might say it, but she's eating collard greens and all kind of stuff at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
She's black.
It's gonna be interesting at the at
The
the palace. At the palace now.
I'm really,
Going to have to get
I'm
a
really
sister in there
interested to see how
cooking
this works
somewhere.
out.
Yeah.
I say I'm really interested to see how this works out because looking at some of the comments, it was horrible.
Some people
Yeah.
didn't like it.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say maybe your previous guest, she can get a job you said 5 years from now she can get a job working at the palace,
Right.
cooking for
There probably
the
some
princess
diversity
now.
training.
Oh yeah,
There
because
probably some diversity
right.
training.
But
I'm sure
how do
they
you
probably
feel?
like greens too.
How do you feel?
Who doesn't
yeah.
like greens? I remember we were selling our house in the suburbs of Illinois before we moved back to Detroit, right? And we were cooking greens that Sunday when all of a sudden they had somebody was interested in seeing the house. So it was a white couple and they came in the house and they said, "Ooh, what is that you're cooking? That sure smells
Okay.
good."
Oh my God!
Them greens.
Wait, gotta take this, Gabe. Good morning, Gabe.
Southville High?
Yeah, speaking.
Yes, Gabriel Watson, Southfield High U of M.
Yes, ma'am. How you
Was-
doing?
Oh my God!
It's been a long time.
Oh, I still have you breakdancing on stage.
Don't show anybody that.
I still
That
have
would
it,
be
Gabe.
interesting.
I still have it. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, very good. I'm out in Arizona still, so after I retired, I stayed out here and got married and started a family.
Oh, I saw it on Facebook. Inbox me your number so we could talk.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Oh, oh my God, I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
Did he have a comment, Brenda?
Oh, did you have a comment, Gabe?
Yeah, I had a few comments actually on both subjects, the sexual
Oh.
harassment and as well as the,
Gabe,
Gabe,
Gabe, I got less than a minute. So
Make it
they're
snap.
getting ready to cut me off. But call me, and I have you call it. We're going to be doing this next week, too. So I have you call me, okay?
Okay, yeah, no problem.
But inbox me your number. Oh,
Okay,
my
yes.
God, I'm so happy to hear from you.
I'm guessing Gabe was a good student.
Oh, it was more than a good
Yeah,
student.
he's a good guy.
All-American. Okay,
All
babe,
around.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, now y'all have a good day.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, ladies.
He All-American, Michigan. He was a parade All-American.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, we got to go. Dang. Well, good luck to Meghan Markle. May I wish John Conyers health, good health.
Yeah.
Because I know stress can put you down.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you out next week. Bye.
Have a good weekend.